This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Ice-T, the American rapper, actor, producer, and author. You started your career as an underground hip-hop artist in Los Angeles before signing your first record deal in 1987. You've since gone on to release 15 albums, appear in over 80 films, and star in NBC's Law & Order Special Victims Unit for over 20 years. Throughout your career, you've encountered controversy and protest, especially for the song Cop Killer, a commentary on police brutality and racism that was widely censored and ultimately led to your departure from Warner Records. You're considered to be one of the pioneers of gangster rap, always on the forefront of new messages and mediums, and your work has always been an inspiration to me. Ice-T, welcome to London Real.
Thanks for having me, man.
It was great to have you. I was wondering if I could kick it off by asking you some advice. Would that be all right?
Let's start.
All right, you're the guy for this. So I put out a video log about a week ago that was titled Freedom of Speech, Just Watch What You Say.
Absolutely.
And it was an homage to you and your album, and it was because I had just been censored, and I was angry, and I was kind of in protest. And just this is how this breaks down. On April 6th, I had a gentleman in this studio right here named David Icke, and we had a 2.5-hour conversation about some controversial stuff, the coronavirus, the 5G, the vaccines, Bill Gates, all this stuff. But it was two people talking for 2.5 hours. And it was the second largest YouTube stream in the world that day, second to only Donald Trump that day. So
Right.
it just blew up. It was 65,000 concurrent people. And based on a previous episode I had with him 4 weeks earlier, it was 4 times as big. And when we did the numbers from his previous one, this would have been watched probably 30-some million times, we figured, as a video podcast, making it probably the biggest one in history, right up near Joe Rogan, Elon Musk levels, like 30-some million views. So we got done and we were like, man, this was incredible. It was a great vibe in the room, like some real serious thought. And then 30 minutes later, it was pulled and deplatformed from YouTube. So I've been doing this 9 years, having real conversations with real people, everybody from musicians to boxers to members of parliament to, CEOs of billion-dollar companies. And this is the first time that ever happened. And so my initial reaction was like, I was mad. And I started uploading different versions to YouTube. I tried to get in touch with them. They wouldn't call me back. And for the next 24 hours, I didn't get an answer. The BBC wrote about it the next day. They had already talked to YouTube. They said they took me off because I violated standards. And we got into this whole thing about censorship. And, for me, I just got angry because I thought First Amendment, freedom of speech, it's two guys having a calm conversation, and later I was banned on Facebook and Instagram. LinkedIn blew all my profiles away for sharing similar bits of that content. And I got angry and I thought about you, with Cop Killer and how also, they didn't understand the nuanced conversation. Like YouTube said he was a COVID-19 denier. And I said, that's not what he said. You just didn't listen to it. And so I've been the last 2 weeks fighting this whole war, and all of my people around the world that watch us, millions of people, have been fighting back. And I've decided, as a symbol of protest, to have him back on again. And we're going to stream it on May 3rd. And I'm trying to get 1 million people watching this at the same time to make it the largest stream of a conversation in history. But we got to set up our own platform. So we just did a crowdfunding race. Yeah. You with me? All right. I'm almost done. So I was like, we can't do it on YouTube, but man, this bothers me. It just bothers me that they're saying we can't do this. And I know it's a private company and I signed the community standards, but it's a digital platform that represents human speech in the world. And I think they need to respect some civil liberties. So anyways, the end of it is that in the last 48 hours, these people in a recessionary economy, when everyone's broke, and I've never asked for $1 in 9 years for London Real. I don't roll that way. I produce products. We just hit $350,000 for that fund. And it's going to take us 100,000 to probably stream 1 million people live. So the people have spoken. We're calling this the Digital Freedom Platform. And it's been this crazy thing that I've been wrapped up with. And I just thought of you and Cop Killer. And I feel like maybe YouTube is my equivalent of your Warner Brothers, because that's my distribution network. But I also feel there's a lot of political forces going in here I can't understand. I got government ministers calling me out. There's Ofcom, a regulator here in the UK, that's trying to shut, things down. And who better to ask about this than you? So maybe you can talk about maybe your thoughts on this, and maybe even how you remember it going down with Cop Killer. I just watched that interview of you in Arsenio Hall, which, man, is powerful. I see a man with the weight of the world on his shoulders, but also you're represented on there. So Just curious for your thoughts, Ice.
Freedom of speech, just watch what you say. Whenever you use somebody else's platform to get your message out, you can be censored by them. If I write in a magazine and I turn it in, and that magazine has a guy called an editor, he's going to determine what that magazine's positions are and if they want to let it fly. If they think it's going to mess with some of their ads or some of the people that pay to be on that site. So what you did was you made some people uncomfortable, and it's their platform. We don't own the internet. Like, people don't know. Like, you're on Instagram, you don't own Instagram. It's theirs. Facebook, it's theirs. Twitter, it's theirs. So they can just shut you down. So you still kind of playing in a censored world. You know, you got to know that they still control it. Now, like what you said is, if you create your own platform, then you can get it out. But you still don't own the internet. You see what I'm saying? So there still could be somebody that can still come over the top and somehow shut you down. The only time you actually have free speech is when you and I are sitting in front of each other, talking directly to each other. So it's kind of like, I learned I have the right to say anything, but I got to be prepared for the blowback and the ramifications of what I say. If I get on here and I say something considered anti-gay, I have to be prepared for gay people to attack me, even though I would never say something like that because that's not how I feel. But if I were to, they're going to attack. If I say something about the cops, they're going to attack. So when I came out and I did that song, I was under the impression, oh, I have free speech. I could just say what I want to say and people will listen. Oh no, I got attacked. And I had to learn that. You know, I always say you have to be prepared for what you guys are gonna put out. I tell people all the time, you can't go to your girl and say, hey, I just had sex with your sister, free speech. You know, like, there's gonna be a blowback to what you say. So all I can tell you is that whatever you guys are putting out, you can't put it out expecting to use other people's vehicle without expecting them to shut it down. And then, I mean, who reads those standards and practices and whatever they make you sign? You just click the button, you know? So we don't really know what you can say on YouTube or what you can do on Twitter until you hit that wall. Just like me, I didn't know what I could do on Warner Brothers until I hit that wall. And Warner Brothers didn't censor me. Everybody thinks Warner Brothers censored me. No, Warner Brothers put the record out. They just got attacked. They got hit, and then they hit them in the pocket at the stockholders meeting. And of course, it's a business. So they're like, okay, if me and you have a big corporation and one person in that business is causing a problem and it's going to make us lose, they're going to have a conversation with you. So I decided to leave Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers never did one wrong thing to me. They were victims of the attack along with myself. They stood up as long as they could, and I decided to leave so that I could be free. So this is kind of like what you're doing. YouTube playing the games with you. You're like, you know what? I'm not going to fight you. I'll just leave, and I'll find another vehicle to put my message out. That's just how it goes.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, you know, they have these community guidelines, but they're kind of enforcing them subjectively because there's 1,000 other videos that talk about the same thing, but it's kind of their right. And I think what you found out with Cop Killer was there was a lot of things going on. It was an election year. There was pressure from the government, and it was only happening because there were other forces outside pushing it. And I know the same with YouTube. They're getting
Listen, it's not YouTube shutting you down. It's other people telling YouTube to shut you down. YouTube is just sitting back. They're not monitoring every video that goes out. They're sitting in their office, and then somebody raised hell that had enough power to make them shut you down. But it wasn't YouTube. They don't care. They got all kinds of stuff on YouTube.
Yeah, that's good perspective. So
the question is who did it? Who put the pressure on them to shut you down?
I mean, just to quickly finish up on the Cop Killer stuff, I mean, how did you keep it all together back then when, you know, the president of the United States is calling you out and you got, you know, IRS and everybody, the cops looking at you? I mean, do you ever think and look back and remember how you felt at the time? Because there's a lot of pressure you had.
I wasn't really concerned with the government because I knew they had no reason to kill me. They were misinformed on what I was doing. The Cop Killer was a protest record. I was just singing. I wasn't part of some type of a militia that wanted to attack cops. I wasn't sending people after the cops. So they did their investigation on me. But when it got down to it, I wasn't really concerned with the government. I was concerned with running into a cop lover, like somebody whose brother was on the force or somebody who had a family member who's a police officer, and I'm coming out of the restaurant and they want to pick a fight. You see what I'm saying? Those types of things can happen. And then I got to defend myself, and we don't know how that's going to end up. So I learned that when you create beef, you always have to be prepared for the fallout. I learned a lot from that too. So, I've explained myself. It's been over 20 years, and it was a protest record. The song was about police brutality. I think it was so radical because at the time, y'all didn't see the videos. No one was aware of what was happening. Black people getting shot in their back and all this kind of stuff that, thanks God, the phone came out and everyone now can see. But I'm singing pre-Rodney King. And the Rodney King thing was not something that just was rare. This was their get down. This is how the cops were acting. They was beating people's asses and calling back up and whooping people. And what do you want to do? You want to fight back to that. Now that they're caught, I think the best thing that ever happened was the video phone, the videos inside the phone. So now every single person has to be held accountable because there's other citizens watching everything you do. That's the only thing that's made it relatively safe. People they know they're being watched, and that's police have to be policed.
You said on that sofa with Arsenio that you were ready to die for telling the truth.
It can happen. I mean, whatever you're saying, there's certain people out there. There's crazy people that want to take action against you if you speak. I don't want to die, but I know that's possible when you speak out. If you don't want to cause any problems, just sit back and be very neutral on everything and be pop, like pop music, pop, sing what everyone wants to hear, say what everyone wants you to hear. But I've always been rock. I'm gonna say what I feel. And, I'm just aware. I'm aware of it. When I speak on that, like I could die, I'm aware of that. I'm not thinking, oh, well, I'm some guy that people are coming. I'm not saying that to big my ego up. I'm just saying, people get angry. And I've gotten death threats my whole career. Me, Chuck D, all people like us, we get death threats and, oh, we're gonna kill you. If you come to this city, we're gonna kill you, this, that, and the third. But I'm from the hood, dogs don't bark, they bite. Anybody that got time to threaten me, I'm not worried about. I'm worried about that cat that's coming on a mission and he ain't telling nobody. That's the one to worry about.
And you said there was also other factors going on because maybe it was the first time in history where these kids, some of these like white suburban kids were bringing your music home, and these parents were kind of freaking out. And I mean, I was one of those kids, too, that was getting hooked on your message and your vibe. And you're saying that was also part of that whole kickback as well.
Well,
perhaps
the biggest fear on earth is for us to all become friends and all of us to understand the plight of kids in Brixton. And what's going on in London, and for London kids to understand what's going on in South Central or in the South, to where the media or whoever it is can't just make us all enemies. You see what I'm saying? It's easy not to like somebody that you don't know anything about. I could tell you say, oh, we have all these people from Syria, these people, they're immigrants. We don't know anything about them, so therefore it's easy to dislike them. You don't know their struggle. You don't know their life. Music has allowed people to exchange their lives. So you say, oh, okay, I got it. I know what a goth kid is. I ain't got no problems with no goth kids. I mean, I don't got no problems with this kid. I don't have no problem. So when the like you say, the suburban white family is sitting down and dad sits back and says, all those niggers in South Central Los Angeles are riding, his daughter says, they're not niggers, Dad. You're the problem. And the police have been taking advantage of Black people for years and years. And he looks over And he doesn't realize his daughter has on a Public Enemy t-shirt and has an Ice-T poster over a princess bedroom set. He doesn't realize it's been home invasion. The kids are listening to the music, and once you understand somebody, you can't hate them as easily. So I think hip hop as a music has done more to bring the world together than any other music. We never stopped anybody from doing it. Eminem is like the greatest rapper in history at this point, you know, from his skills and styles, the #1 seller. We never stopped people. There's kids in Brazil, there's kids in London. It was a movement that allowed the world to become part of it. And it's your chance to tell your story. That's all hip hop is. It's your chance to tell your story and hear mine.
Well, how come that worked with hip hop and then not some other form of music? Was it just because it came from a place where you could express yourself and say what you want and you were encouraged to be you?
Well, hip hop has 4 entry points. You could be a dancer, you know, you could be a DJ, you could be a rapper, or you could be a graffiti artist. And the 5th element is you could just be a fan. And if you're a fan and you know the knowledge, you're part of the culture. The culture isn't so complicated. You can't, there's an easy entry level. Like you could be a dancer, you might be whack, but you can try. It's not like being an opera singer where you have to hit a certain level before you can even enter the culture. With hip hop, you can try to be a DJ. And, you know, we got a word in hip hop called whack. We'll tell you you're not there yet. You're whack right now. You got to step your game up. But that doesn't mean quit. That means get better, you know, and it allows anybody in. You know, if you can dance, if you can sing, all we ask is we respect it. Respect the culture, because it saved my life. It saved so many kids' lives, whether it be white kids, black kids, all over the world. And we got haters, but see, hate is necessary for growth. Like I always told parents, they like, oh, well, I don't like rap. I'm like, you don't really like it, right? You really don't want your kids to listen to it? Yeah, make them listen to it. Tell them, hey, you got to listen to your rap record tonight. They'll hate it. They'll stop. They won't want to do it. As soon as you tell them that they got to do it, they don't. So it's born in when we are all like teenagers and we're looking for that level of rebellion, and hip hop is perfect. But it's really just a place to express yourself, which everybody wants to do. You don't need to know how to play an instrument. It's not difficult. It just takes a little bit of practice.
So there I was in 1988 at Torrey Pines High School in San Diego in my 68 Mustang, and I'm blasting Colors out the window. And, you know, this place, it's like the Beverly Hills 90210 of San Diego, this school. I mean, kids rolling up in Benzos, it's crazy. And I spent my previous years kind of in Southeast San Diego at one of these magnet programs where it was like 80% Black and Hispanic. So I was down there learning computer science and stuff. That's how they roll back in San Diego. And then I was there at Torrey Pines High School and blasting Colors. And, you know, from Colors when I was 17, Ice, to when I went to MIT in my junior year, where we had this period called the inter-academic period, where 6 weeks you had no school. I spent 4 weeks with OG on repeats in my fraternity house while I painted literally a pentagram on my door. Like, I know it's kind of a crazy story, but I did. And then a couple years later, I listened to Home Invasion on repeat. But
I see time and space in a number grid. I hear thunder, see the nearest tree and stand under it. When I spit, you see a surge of power, I break your TV. I make demons come out of the screen in 3D. Being one of the illest is written on my CV. You need Pandora's box just to keep me. My brain's haunted. You can tell I'm one of them dark horses in the same fortress where my strange thoughts take orders. A lost boy who needs to feed off these weak creatures. I turn new world order leaders to street preachers. Arrest the government, reprogram and teach teachers. Rip the system to pieces when I spit the thesis. My raps are still toe caps that kick the speakers. Deeper than deep heat. My lyrics are heat seekers. A meat cleaver. A flow to send you to meet Jesus. I keep entire empires in my meat freezer. I breed piranha, the rap Jeffrey Dahmer. Seeing me, you got more chance of seeing this armor. Hit you harder than a bare knuckle boxer, make you change your posture. Leave you standing like an Oscar, you will never prosper. Look Ostra Nostra, climb the top of the roster. Aiming at the F-16, but caught the helicopter.
I'm not even gonna go deep into it, man. Scor-zay-zee, how you doing, bro? Yeah, what's happening? I'm good. Yeah, thanks for having me on, man.
Bless, man, bless. This is a true honor, man, a true pleasure. How you been though, man? How you been in this whole lockdown environment and the mad thing we've been going through?
Do you know what? Yeah, it's a blessing that I haven't got anyone close to me who's obviously suffered with COVID or whatever. But yeah, so I always kind of ask my family, like, do you know anyone who's got it? Because it's really like the information out there is really, it's crazy, man. It's confusing. It's like mad confusing.
It is, man. I feel like if they've kind of done it in a way where it's like you kind of really gotta, if you're not a critical thinker and you're not someone who really does your own research, you're gonna find yourself in a bit of a in a place of confusion, like. And I feel, and I don't know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but I just feel like they can't be this incompetent on purpose, man.
Nah, it's like things could be like the way my brain works as well is like stuff. The way my brain works is if it's A, it's B. If it's not B, it's C. There's so much mist coming from the government. There's so much confusion. I don't know what's going on. For the first time in my life, even I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I don't even know what's going on. It's I don't know if they're doing it on. To me, I have I have my few theories in that, but to me, it sounds like they're being pulled in so many different directions by so many people. Like when they do present these presentations or when they've got like an announcement to make, they've got to make so many people happy that it's a bit like. Imagine trying to make like 10 people in your family happy and they've all pulled you aside on their own and gone, if you talk about this, and then you go into the room and you talk to all of them and they're all watching you and you're going, right, I kind of don't want to offend him. I don't want to pee that guy off over there who funds my campaign. I don't want to pee those guys off and, the economists off. I don't want to, my voters. So they end up just going, well, maybe we could, maybe we couldn't, and it's just like I wish they just have a pair of good ganulas, you know what I mean, like a pair of balls, and just say this is what's going on, because it's just I don't even look to the government. I don't even look to them now anyway for advice or anything like that. I think how stupid is it to like put the TV on every day and go, what shall we do? What shall we do?
It is nuts, and I feel like the way that I guess it's the way I do things in life anyway. I'm just like, well, who's advising the government? Okay, this is what they're saying. I'm just gonna do that because to me, I'm like, that's probably the best course of action based on the facts we have at this point. But the way you just put it is like, it's so perfect. It's like they're trying to please everybody, and by trying to please everybody, they're pissing off everyone. Like nothing's working. And one of the funniest things was the teachers press conference, and they were saying like, we're trying to send teachers back to school. And they also advise them not to wear face masks, and it's like, wait, so everyone else is supposed to wear face masks in public, but teachers shouldn't? Like, so what, does the disease not work in schools, or is it? It's like, it's so mad, like the kind of things that they come out with.
And the thing is as well, at the moment, I've noticed that people who used to talk about conspiracy theories now kind of hate the word conspiracy theory because they think, oh, that's so dumb. But this type of disinformation, or the way information has gone out over the internet, it opens its doors to conspiracy theories because no one knows what the plan is. So like if you've got Bill Gates, who's all along has had a plan to vaccinate the world, and then all of a sudden he pops up when a virus comes out to vaccinate the world, and then all of a sudden you've got people saying no, 5G and COVID, which I haven't done enough study to know the connection between those two. But all I know is, if you was a conspiracy theorist, now you'd be going, yeah, of course, 5G on every street. They notice everything from your heartbeat to your body temperature. I actually read a cool patent online by Microsoft that they want to hook a cryptocurrency to a device either on your body or in your body that can map the areas of your brain that are being stimulated. I mean, if that don't open a door to a conspiracy theory, what will? Do you know what I mean? It was like aliens. Then it was like I read David Icke before the internet. I had all his books.
Same.
And I used to listen to conspiracy types well, that the CIA invented the term conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
I call it alternative view.
Yeah.
I used to listen to that stuff on cassettes and stuff.
Yep.
And when you think about it, everyone's relishing in this conspiracy theory because it is what everyone's been talking about all the time.
Yeah.
And of course they're going to come out and say, well, you know, it could be Bill Gates. He might be the bad guy. And then you've got Trump saying, well, China's to blame because China might have tried to get out the trade deal, and the only thing in the contract was if a plague hits the world. I mean, who's not going to have a conspiracy theory about all this?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's a lot.
There's going to be a couple, isn't there?
It's definitely nuts, man. But I just feel like you're right. Conspiracy theories, the term has been kind of corrupted, and I just think like I feel like old school conspiracy theory was always based on let's do the knowledge and let's really research this to death. Let's really see what's really going on, and then you're then coming with sources and facts from all different sides, and then you can look at someone and go, yeah, that really does make sense. You've got concrete evidence for that, so you can say, all right, cool, that definitely happened, and the government conspired to do something which they said they weren't going to do. They told us it was one thing, it was really another. So we've seen examples of that like many times. But I feel like now what we've got is, it's like people are getting their facts from memes. It's like, this is my source of information is coming from some crazy Russian bot, and it's just like, come on, bro, like do the knowledge, and like, you can't just say, oh, I've watched some. And I mean, even like you said, I had all David Icke's books from back in the day. Like, that was me and my boys, Amos, Rams, like that was our thing. You know what I mean? We were deep into that. Big Up Double Edge, like we were Behold the Pale Horse.
Behold the Pale Horse.
Yeah, man.
He got shot, the author of that, by the way.
Yeah, like, it's like I'm saying, so like to me, I'm like, yeah, there's so many things out there that you can look at and say, right, there's facts with this. But then we're in a place now where it's like anybody can say anything and everyone goes, yep, that's it. And it's and the funniest part of it, which I've mentioned many times, even on this show, is like people with conflicting conspiracies in their own mind. They're like, yeah, nah, no one's dead. All the deaths are all fake. And then they're like, yeah, it's 5G. 5G's killing everyone. Are the deaths fake, or is 5G killing everyone? You can't have them both. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, man, 100%. It's a funny one, bro.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So anyway, man, go on.
You know what? Saying about the old school when you used to read David Icke books.
Yeah.
Can you remember that Freemason cassette that went round where it said Madonna was saying she worshipped the devil backwards?
Yeah, like that's.
And it was that guy talking, and he was talking about The Simpsons.
Yeah, man.
That was on cassette.
My dad showed me that.
Circulating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was circulating. When you think about it, that cassette was like the YouTube videos we watched where they mishmash all bits together. And whoever did that was one of the first things that got me into alternative views.
Yeah.
And I listened to that, and ever since, and then when I got into the David Icke stuff, but I remember sitting in the studio in like 1995, 96, I was about 15, 16.
Yeah.
And I remember we used to have conversations in the studio. It used to be about New World Order. When Prodigy had that line, Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body.
Yeah.
To a 15, 16-year-old, I was like, just that one line of Prodigy made me go and look into other stuff.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I remember when debit cards weren't a thing, like credit cards were a thing. Debit cards, not many people had a debit card. And we was like, oh, everything's going to be on a card. And like back then, the debit card was like 5G kind of.
Mark of the beast.
You know, they're going to have a mark of the beast.
Yep.
It's going to be a cashless society. You got a debit card. And I'm thinking, look where we are now.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I do remember those times before the internet, how we thought about things, man.
Yeah, man.
Especially
I remember
through music.
Like my parents sitting me down and speaking about this stuff, like telling about the cashless society, New World Order, one world government, one world religion, all that kind of stuff. Like my dad's a preacher, and obviously my mum's deep in church as well. But I remember the mark of the beast was like the mark of the beast, the Antichrist, all this kind of stuff was like something I just grew up with. So what I found is like the problem with that is it's like the star signs, yeah. So like you're reading your star sign and you're like, yo, the mark of the beast is gonna be somebody with a dark t-shirt and a hat, and everyone goes, oh wow, he's got a dark t-shirt and a hat, and it's bare, but it's like there's so many things when you talk about like old prophecies that can fit over that you can overlay over so many different environments, which is why you have a bunch of Christians saying that Trump is the Antichrist and another bunch of Christians saying he's the second coming. You know what I mean? Like the way that it's the way things are interpreted. So it's a mad thing, man. So going back to
I know what you mean, because it's true, because you're talking about something that you can't see, so you can just, you know, you can it's like seeing a face in the wall.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You want to see a face. Yeah, you see the face, but there ain't no face, but you see the face in the wall. I know what you mean, man.
And we're programmed to see faces. Like, that's exactly what it is, man.
Exactly. Spot patterns. And I think there's a psychological thing in the brain as well where you can spot patterns that might not be there.
Yeah.
And that can cause, that's what they call paranoia, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
or like,
I guess so.
I mean, I've suffered from stuff like that. Like, someone might be speaking about something and I'll be like, I had a dream about that, and try and make a connection. And then all of a sudden I've got a theory. Like, yeah, man.
It's very deep, man. And I feel as well, yeah. All right, last thing I say on conspiracies, yeah. I feel like the thing with it's on my head, it's been on my mind the last like this whole time. But I feel like what a conspiracy allows people to do is it allows the uneducated to feel like they're more educated than the people who are educated about that subject. So you can have somebody say, "Oh, nah, I know more than Bill Gates when it comes to vaccinations," even though Bill Gates' company has been working on vaccinations for 20 years, but you don't know the ins and outs, because then you can just say, nah, but you don't know what he's been doing with it, and and it's like, all right, cool, yeah, that's cool for you to say that, but that's not your level of expertise, love. Your expertise is hairdressing. Like, you know what I mean? If I need a perm, I'll holler at you.
Yeah.
But there's levels to this, man. There's levels to this.
Funnily enough, Bill Gates isn't qualified to make vaccines either himself.
Nah, definitely he's not. But he's like, his company, like, you know what I mean? There's bare things that I'm not qualified to do, but there's people that I employ to do it for me. So I feel like the idea that people was thinking like, Bill Gates, what, he makes windows, like, so no one was thinking he's been doing other things. It's like he's been if you've been involved in something for 20 years, you're gonna learn a thing or two. And you know what I mean, it's not Bill Gates ain't sitting there putting potions together trying to do vaccines. But yeah, again, there's so much we don't know, and there's so much that we don't.
I mean, I've got friends who, like, they don't just look into Bill Gates, they look into who Bill Gates' father was, who they're related to, who they work with. I mean, the thing that got me about Bill Gates was he met Jeffrey Epstein multiple times after he was a convicted paedophile.
See.
So and then it was something to do with, I think it was Jeffrey Epstein was, he liked the eugenics, like the science of eugenics. He wanted, and then I think Bill Gates' foundation, they was trying to hook him up to get money off Jeffrey Epstein. Now, if you had like billions, and you was like the second richest man in the world, why would I go down to the road to a 2-bit criminal who's like the dirty old pervert down the road and say, yo, give me 50 quid? That's like that, like knock on his door and say, oh, forget about all the crime, forget that stuff that you've done. Yeah, we know that was a bit shady, but you want to donate to my foundation £50? Like, something's not right there. And I love journalists that connect those dots, because they're the dots that the media, the mainstream media, they're the dots that people ignore. And people go online. I've seen people online going, well, you know, they met up because of this, or they didn't just met up once, they met up like 20 times. And smiling in photos all together with all the other shady characters. It's like, nah, man, something going on there, bro.
Yeah, there's definitely something going on, man. You can't deny that, man. It's for real.
Yeah.
So days, like, it's crazy. Let's talk about there's so much I want to talk to you about, but I want to talk about Great Britain a little bit, and about you getting banned from Parliament and all that. Like, what happened with that?
Yeah, Great Britain, man. It was I was going through some stuff, man, myself. Obviously, that's well documented, so I don't want to go into that on this interview, because I end up going down that road every time. But that was just I was an angry kid, man, and I was angry. Like I said, I was reading like David Icke books. I was reading, I was listening to the tapes, like theories on tapes, and I was reading like obviously reading about the Knights Templar, and I could just spot something was bothering me, and I wrote it all in Great Britain, and it's one of those things that I don't think I'll write another tune like that again, because it was so like one stream of consciousness. I don't think the pencil lifted off the paper. It was written really quick. It was written really fast, man. So to be honest, the story of that is there was a studio session booked for like, I think it was like 9 or 10 a.m. in the morning. And when we used to do a lot of our recording, we didn't record at the actual studio, the community center. We recorded it in a more better professional studio.
Right.
So the session was booked, and there was this thing where Trev used to send me beats and stuff, and we'd work and we'd do tunes, and he would say, "Oh, write a couple to this one or maybe that one, and we'll put it out." So they sent me this beat by the P Brothers, and I had the beat for like, I think it was about 2 weeks or a week, and I know the studio was booked like for 2 weeks.
Right.
So I thought, you know what it's like when you're young in it, you're like, yeah, man, I'll write it, and becomes like a, you know, it becomes like a chore. I get that tune in, I get that tune in. Well, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and the studio was booked for the next day. So I remember Trev, because me and Trev, like, if you don't know Trev, man, he's like the type of guy that you can ring at 2 a.m. and he's not, like, not now, but back in the day, like, yeah, you know, like he's always on the, you know, like just talking like that. And he'd ring me at like 2 and go, "You have wrote the tune, haven't you?" And I was like, "Of course I have. Of course I have." Because Trev's like the big brother. Trev's like the, you know, like checking up on you. So he's like the big brother, like, "Yeah, of course I have, man. Don't worry about it." You know, making excuses. "Yeah, don't worry about the tune." 4 o'clock came. Anyway, I just thought, I was angry. I think the Iraq war had just like started kicking off on TV and stuff. So I just penned it as it was, and then went to the next day, laid it in like literally. You can hear P Brothers talk about this. I laid it in one take, laid the chorus in one take, everything in one take, and at the end of the session, Big Trev goes, "I don't like it." And I knew why he didn't like it. He was scared. He was like, "No," he goes, "You're gonna get arrested because you're gonna get arrested." Trev didn't really like it, so that kind of gave me the hump for a bit. I was like, sabotage my tune. But what kind of happened is the P Brothers released it about a year later.
Right.
And on their hardcore volume 2, I think it is, P Brothers. And they released it, and that's when the Zane Lowe picked it up.
Right, okay.
There was Pete Tong was talking about it.
Yep.
Zane Lowe, like the manager of Frankie Goes to Hollywood, because they had some, I can't remember, in the 80s they had some controversial tune. There was, who else was talking about it? There was a couple of other DJs talking about it. Then it got played on the radio, and then obviously there was a big newspaper article. It got spoke about in Parliament, and to me that was my winner. That was my winner. That's like, if you like, every artist has like got an anthem that they do. Yeah. That's like mine. So there was, so basically what happened is Polydor Records came in and tried to buy it for 50p, like record labels do. Like offered some dumb deal, like some cheap deal. But anyway, Trev just like kind of was worried about, at the time he was probably worried about my mental state, and also the fact that the newspapers might have blown it out of proportion, because obviously 9/11 had just happened. So anything political or anything like that, it could have got really bad for me. So Trev was more trying to protect me from that kind of thing. So it ended up getting pulled off the radio, and then just became like this legendary piece of music that everywhere I go. And then sometimes it gets pulled off YouTube, like it goes up and it comes down. But since everybody's watching this, I am going to point you to a website where there's a bit of information of what I've got coming up. And yeah, man.
Sick.
Yeah, man.
Sick. Yeah, it's one of them tracks,
I'm not going to say nothing now, but anyone who loves Great Britain is going to love what I'm about to do.
Jeez.
Yeah, I can't announce it properly because we're just tying it all up, but it's going to be one of those things where I might end up in jail again.
But you know what? See, this is what I like, yeah? So I feel like there's certain people just have certain places in the game, yeah? in what we do.
And
like you say, you don't really do the social media too much. Like you don't even. It's hard to find your music online. It's like if you want to find it, you can find it. But like there's always these like things you do. It's kind of like tent poles in the game. So in every era, there's something that you've done which is like a big deal to those of us who love hip hop over here. Something that you did which was massive, and it's something that I'm like supremely jealous of as well. Yeah, is the movie.
The LeDonk Scor-zay-zee.
Yeah, man. Like, because, and you know what's funny, right? So, when it first came out, yeah, my sister-in-law, she was like, so she must have hit me up and was like, I just saw this film, yeah. Have you heard of Scorzayzee? I'm like, yeah. What do you mean, like Scorzayzee? Yeah. How have you heard of Scorzayzee? What are you talking about? She's like, let's watch this film with him in. I'm like, what? Like, what kind of like a film? She's like, it's really funny. You got to watch it. So I was like, all right, cool. So and at the time, it got quite a lot of press, but somehow I just kind of just missed it, and then it was getting a lot of press and whatever. And just that movie is just so cold, and like it's one of my favorites, yeah. But it's such a even if it like it's to me it's just one of my favorite movies, and it's the type of movie that I love. It's the type of film that if I was gonna make, that's the kind of film that I would make, and it's just like it's perfect how it is, yeah. But on a rewatch, I was rewatching it, yeah, and let's stop. We'll get to that in a second. How did that even come about?
It's the craziest story how that happened, man. It's like, so after Great Britain, I'd stopped kind of rapping for a bit, and I was doing like little short films with my friend, who's now he's a real film director. He's just done this Bulletproof. He did a few episodes of Bulletproof, and he's just done the last Bulletproof with Noel Clarke.
Sick.
And he also his name's Sarmad Masood. He did a film called My Pure Land that nearly got into the Oscars.
Okay, right.
Well, he was my friend from school who used to make short films outside on the street. You know, you're messing around. So I ended up doing short films, and then meeting a few local film directors, and I ended up doing another short film, and then met another film director. So I was kind of hanging around there's a place called Broadway Cinema in Nottingham, where they show independent films. And then one day, I just got a phone call off one of the contacts that I knew just from doing short films, and they said, Shane Meadows would like to have a meeting with you. So that's how it was, man. I've told this story loads of times, but I always say I didn't have any cash. I was broke. So I said, Mum, borrow me some bus fare. I'm gonna meet this big film director. And she was like, you what? I was like, yeah, I'm gonna meet a big film director down at the Broadway Cinema. So got some bus fare, went down there, just had a meeting with him, and I did a few raps to him. And he was looking for a character for LeDonk, to be in the film. So that day I ended up, the actor Paddy Considine, he came along as well. Ended up doing an hour audition. I think they've got the footage of the audition, and it went on for about an hour. It was all improv. And but I had this attitude, like, I don't really care if I don't get any. It wasn't like I was just going along with it.
Right.
And the improv was just so natural that I was watching him, and I was just thinking, he's amazing. And we just did an audition, and Shane Meadows just went, do you want to come to Manchester for 5 days? LeDonk, Paddy, who's playing LeDonk, is going to be backstage at the Arctic Monkeys concert. We're going to try and make a comedy. It's going to be all improv, no script, just play along with it.
That's mad.
So I think a couple of days later or a day later, I ended up going to buy a big keyboard because they tried to create the character. And they brought me that stupid hat that said "Kids need hugs, not drugs," and they had them like basketball trousers on, and I had some like American football top, sunglasses. So I looked like classic. It reminded me of one of those classic independent American films, you know, like they've got odd characters. And then I just thought I'll play like the sidekick, and I played the sidekick. And then after we filmed after 5 days of filming, I remember I met Alex Turner when Arctic Monkeys were like the biggest band in the world.
Yeah, one of my favorite bands as well.
And the funny thing is, I recommend everyone go and see Go and watch LeDonk and Scor-zay-zee. I think you can get it on the Warp Films website. Who made it? Who produced it? And everything you see on that film, it happened as it happened. Like we wasn't supposed to get support slot for the Arctic Monkeys.
See.
Like it happened accidentally because when we was doing the film, the manager of the Arctic Monkeys and the security were very adamant that we must not go on the stage.
Right.
Like they said, you can film.
Yeah.
But you must not go on the stage because it's their gig, innit?
Yeah,
so you can't go around fiddling with the equipment. But obviously, I just thought, screw that. I went on stage and started rapping on the mic, started like talking to the sound engineers, and they was like really cool. There's like, I goes, can I ever go on your mic? And there's like, yeah, go on, I'll give it a test. And I'm like, I'm standing in like Old Trafford cricket ground thinking, and I started freestyling and rapping.
Yeah.
And then Arctic Monkeys come to do their sound check.
Yeah.
They're like, who's that guy? Like, why have you let that guy on the stage? Because they knew they was there to film, but it wasn't really catching on. And anyway, LeDonk goes up to him and goes, he's all right, innit? He sounds all right, like, as the character.
Yeah.
He's like, and they're like, yeah, he's all right. And he goes, you're going to give us a support slot then? And then over the next couple of days, they negotiated with the managers and everything. There's like, yeah, it'd be really good if you opened up. So we ended up support slotting Arctic Monkeys in front of 50,000 people. It's bonkers.
It's nuts.
And they filmed it all. They filmed it.
So
all.
then, if they don't say yeah, the film doesn't happen the way it happens. That's crazy.
That's what Shane said. He said you've actually given the film a beginning, middle, and end.
That is nuts.
Because I don't think they was originally going to release it as a full film. I think it was going to be like DVD extras, the other stuff that they was doing. And then it actually went quiet for about a year after they made it.
Right.
And I did think at some point, I thought, nah, they're probably not going to use this, And then I got a call off the promo team, and they said, look, it's coming out, but it's going everywhere. They're going to push it. So I ended up doing Sky News. I ended up doing Jonathan Ross. Well, they did Jonathan Ross. We ended up doing, like all the top interviews with all the top film people.
Yep.
And they ended up doing a party with a lot of actors were there, and they launched it. And it was a really weird week because it was all promo. I'd never done you get to see what the machine looks like from the inside.
Yeah.
Like we're independent artists. We do promo like email every day.
Yeah.
We do tweets. Yeah. When they do promo, it's like Sky News in the morning, Edith Bowman at 9:00. And you get to see the promo machine. You're like, yeah, this is how people become. Like, when your brother says, "Why didn't you be like Tiny Temper and blow up?" I'm like, because Tiny Temper's got the 9:00 with Edith Bowman and then 5:00 with Jonathan Ross. That's the difference.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's like it was just days of promo, and then it was in the Sun, and then it was on. It even got wrote about in is it Variety? That's like the LA, Los Angeles magazine, and then. Obviously, you put my name in the title. That was cool.
See, this is the mad thing about it, because, with obviously, Paddy Considine's playing a character, but you're playing like a version of yourself, and the mad thing about it is, the actual character that they've said, oh, this is just you actually use like so many real parts of your life, like within that character. So it's part of a character, like partly you, but not.
I mean, I played like a dumb version of myself, basically.
But it is bad because it's like, but at the same time, I think as like a fan of you, it's like you're acting like, you're walking around with a keyboard, like that's got to be one of the funniest scenes ever. Like trying to get this keyboard plugged in.
I mean, even like when I saw the Arctic Monkeys coming and I had the keyboard. I knew the funniest thing would be to not recognise them and ask them if I can plug my keyboard in. Like, that would have been the joke. So them little things in my mind, I was like, don't go on like you know them. Just ask them where you can plug your keyboard in. So I was planning all those little things in my mind and making them look as natural as possible.
That scene is a killer, because even when you go up to the woman who's in the car park and you're like, oh, can you help me with the keyboard? And she's like, all right, let me just sort this coach out first.
Yeah, because they genuinely didn't know who it was. It was like, and the funny thing was, I don't know if it's in the film or the extras, I'm not sure, but they must have put it in. I can't remember. I actually walked in a full boardroom meeting.
Oh, I didn't see that bit. Nah.
Like in the offices, in that build, there was a building next to it. There was a full, professional meeting with people with suits around a big table. Like, I opened the door and went, "Hi guys, any way I can plug my keyboard in?" And they went, "Look," but I'm sure it might be on the extras. That can't remember.
That's a killer, man.
And they were looking at me like, "Who are you?" Like, it's about to call security. Yeah, so. Man,
you can tell like the freestyle bit when you're just going off the top, like that's part you can tell that's like a freestyle, but then the part when you're in front of the crowd and you're just spitting bars, like again it's such a weird kind of like it's I don't know, man, it's like a weird figure because it's like, again, you're acting like a dumb version of yourself, but then you're just spitting the coldest bars.
Yeah, the interesting thing about the bars, I mean, the bars I was spitting on stage was off the Freestyle Frenzy with Joe Buddha.
Yeah.
With there's a record called the Freestyle Frenzy for people who don't know. It's got about 20 MCs on, and they all do bars. But the reason I was spitting those verses in the film, so I'll just wobble the mic. The reason I was spitting those verses, if you remember, like, I've only just got the audition. I haven't rapped for years, so I had to get all my old material back to have something to rap in the film, because I was like, because I hadn't written for like probably 4 years, 5 years, so I had to bring all I was rapping Creps in the hotel room, and get onto Creps in a minute if you want, but it was a weird, I had to like panic learn everything. And the funny thing is, that scene where I'm on stage rapping, if you notice the beat is one of those built-in beats on a really cheap keyboard. And it was the only hip-hop beat on the bloody keyboard. So, so I had that beat on for like 10 minutes because it was the only one. And the crowd are looking at me like, what the hell? What are you about?
Nah, there's some classic lines in there, man. There's the what's it called? On a stage dive, and he's like, "Nah, not for me, right, mate."
He's such a talent, man. He's such a talent. And he actually did. Paddy Considine actually did an impression of me, and it was really weird to see me. I think he's got this natural. Some people have got that natural thing where they can do impressions of people straight away, and he did me like to a T. It was like, man,
that's cool, man. That if you haven't seen that, guys, you need to go see that film, man. You need to see it. It's incredible. And I just think it's like, it's such a good look as well, man. It's just like, I can't think of you. Actually, you must be the only UK rapper that's been on like a feature film like that. I can't think of many others. I mean, you had a few, obviously a couple of the grime guys have done it, but and I think the beauty of it as well is it's not your typical hip hop film. It's such a good film. There's like so many parts in there that are just like super relatable, and like obviously not going to give the game away the whole film, but like there's certain moments in that film where you're just like, yeah, man, it's deep. And I think one part as well when he says, yeah, man, he just converted to Islam, and then you start reciting the Quran, like that's like it's chills though, bro. It's just chills. It's just like, because at the same time, he mentions loads of stuff as well. There's things that you've mentioned in the past about going through depression and all that kind of stuff, and losing weight and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's like they just throw it in the film, like yeah. But it's just like,
yeah, because he actually asked about me and stuff. So in order for him to do his job, he had to know about me. So yeah, man. And the funny thing is, when I did that, like a verse from the Quran, they had to go to like an imam to get it officially stamped as if I'd done it correctly, so that I don't get like banned or people don't say, "Oh, you did it wrong." And the imam goes, "Yeah, he said it correctly, man. So you're good."
Wicked.
You wouldn't think little things like that they would have to ask permission for, like when they're doing it. But yeah, man, I tell you what, bro. Throughout my career, like I've always been independent, never been signed, but I've done some things that you could tell your grandkids.
Yeah.
This nearly got banned in Parliament in 2004, and the headline in the Telegraph was, "The BBC promotes a rapper who claims the royal family killed Lady Di." them every day, Great Britain. While the rich take over your brain, Great Britain. Yo, for Great Britain. If I had an army, I would fight ya. If I had the police, I'd arrest ya. If I had my own court, my own Georgia jury, I'd sit back and let history tell the story. If I had an army, I would fight ya. If I had the police, I'd arrest ya. If I had my own court, my own Georgia jury, I'd sit back and let history. Don't believe what you read in the news, Great Britain. You gave Palestine to the Jews, Great Britain. Stick your nose in people's affairs, Great Britain. Councillors on 60 grand a year, Great Britain. More than the soldiers in Iraq, Great Britain. Then you have to pay your council tax, Great Britain. The Queen lives in a house like Saddam Hussein. They're both rich, so I guess they're both one and the same. Oh, rule Britannia, Britannia ruled the waves. Pirates on the ships, start searching for the slaves. Control the world in this new world order. Could have spent the war money on homes, food and water. I was born and raised in Great Britain. Brainwashed and put in a daze by Great Britain. I learned how to wrap myself in Great Britain. But there's not a better than living in Great Britain. If I had an army, I would fight ya. If I had the police, I'd arrest ya. If I had my own court, my own judge and jury, I'd sit back and let history tell the story. If I had an army, I would fight ya. If I had the police, I'd arrest ya. If I had my own court, my own judge and jury, I'd sit back and let history tell the story. Great Britain. Fuck the government.
This procession is now on its way to the Masonic Temple of St. Ermin to enthrone Mrs. Seton Challenge, the new Grand Master of the Honorable Fraternity of Ancient Freemasons. The ceremony will be magnificent and will mark an historic occasion in the annals of the order. This organization has made Masonic history, and the women leaders of the future will come into a rich inheritance.